The first version of the Picture of Dorian Gray was accused of corrupting the youth of England, so Oscar Wilde rewrote it. He added chapters, he softened the language, he built a philosophical shield around it. And the version we read today, that's the revision. So let's start with the one line everybody knows. You've probably heard it a million times. It's become Oscar Wilde's personal motto: all art is perfectly useless. And on the surface, okay, it sounds like the ultimate art for art's sake slogan. Art doesn't need a moral. It doesn't need to teach you a lesson. It just is. It's beautiful. And this is the witty, safe Oscar Wilde we're all comfortable with. But what if we're reading it all wrong? What if that's exactly what he wanted us to think? I mean, let's just stop and think about that for a second. What if this whole famous preface, this big declaration about art's uselessness, was actually the most useful thing Wilde ever wrote? Not as some grand philosophy, but as a shield, a defense. Because the book that we all have, the 1891 version, it's not the story he first told. It's a revision born out of a huge public backlash and a very real, very personal fear. And once you see the difference between the two, well, it changes absolutely everything. Right. So before we can really dig into what that original story was trying to do, we have to kind of pick apart the myth, the safe, tidy version of Dorian Gray that the 1891 book was specifically designed to create. The usual reading goes something like this, right? It's a spooky Gothic story. It's a morality tale about being too vain. The bad guy gets what's coming to him in the end. And the big idea holding it all together is that art is totally separate from morals. I mean, sure, the painting is magic, but its job isn't to teach us a lesson. It's just to look good and look that reading is clean. It's safe. And back in 1891, it was exactly what Oscar Wilde needed everybody to believe. But here's the secret that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time. We're not actually dealing with one book here. We're dealing with two. And I'm not just talking about a few edits. We are looking at two fundamentally different novels with two very, very different souls. So here's how it went down in 1890. The first version comes out in a magazine. It's shorter, it's sharper, and it's way more daring. And the public reaction, it's immediate, and it is vicious. Critics call it immoral, a book that will taint every young mind. They saw something in those pages that genuinely scared them. So, in response to this complete firestorm, Wilde, he revises it for the 1891 book release. He adds 6 new chapters. He tones down some of the more suggestive language, and this is the crucial part. He writes that famous preface to act as a kind of philosophical bodyguard for the entire text. So this is what it all boils down to. There are two completely distinct Dorian Grays. There's the one that dared to say something, and the one that had to defend itself. The one that whispered a secret, and the one that tried to deny the secret was ever told in the first place. And the version that became the standard, yeah, the one you probably have on your shelf, is the second one. The one that was shaped by fear. Okay, now look at this, because this shows you the censorship in action. This isn't just about padding the book with more chapters. This is about changing its very soul. Take this moment near the end, where Dorian tries to do a good deed, hoping it'll fix the painting. In the 1890 text, it's totally ambiguous. There'd been something more, but who could tell? The question is just left hanging there. The moral responsibility is handed right over to us, the reader. But now look at the 1891 version. It's so definitive. No, there had been nothing more. It just slams the door shut on any kind of interpretation. It tells you exactly what to think. Now think about that difference for a second. One text trusts you, the other one controls you. So, this brings up the big question. Why? Why make these huge changes to really get Wilde's motives? We have to ignore that preface for a minute and just look at what the novel itself says about art and what you find. Well, it's a massive contradiction. The preface tells us art is useless, that its goal is to hide the artist. But does the story actually agree with that? I mean, is Basil Hallward's painting of Dorian Gray really just some useless, beautiful thing that conceals its creator? Right. This is the official line from that 1891 preface. To reveal art and conceal the artist is art's aim. It's an argument for total separation. The artist has to just disappear behind their work. The art stands alone, pure, not burdened by the messy life of the person who made it. It sounds very sophisticated, doesn't it? It's also a complete lie. And the proof is right inside the book itself. Because inside the novel, the artist Basil Hallward says the exact opposite. He's terrified of showing the portrait, not because it reveals too much about Dorian, but because it reveals too much about him. He actually says, "I am afraid that I have shown with it the secret of my own soul." So the greatest work of art in the novel isn't hiding the artist. It's a revelation of the artist. It's basically a confession. Basil's homoerotic love for Dorian, a love he cannot say out loud, is poured onto that canvas. The art dares to communicate with. The man himself cannot. And here is the unbearable context for that confession. This wasn't just some social taboo in Wilde's England. Homosexuality was a crime, the secret of his own soul that Basil is so afraid of revealing. And by extension, the secret that Wilde himself communicated in the 1890 text. That secret could lead to total ruin, to prison, to hard labor. And suddenly, all those changes between the two versions, they don't look like artistic choices anymore, do they? They look like the desperate actions of a man trying to wipe his fingerprints from a crime scene. That 1891 preface isn't an aesthetic manifesto. It's an alibot. So with all that in mind, let's circle all the way back to that opening quote. If art is supposed to reveal the artist's soul, and the artist's soul is literally criminalized by the state, then what on earth could it mean for art to be perfectly useless? This is where the whole idea gets truly radical. See, this is the question the censored version is trying to stop us from even asking. The common misreading is that useless means it's apolitical, that it has no purpose. But Wilde's was a deeply political thinker, and when an artist's very being is under threat from the authorities, from society, from the state itself, well, declaring your art useless takes on a whole new meaning. And this right here is the radical heart of it. Perfectly useless doesn't mean it has no purpose. It means it refuses to be used. It is useless to the state, useless to the church. It's useless to any power that wants to turn art into a tool, into propaganda. Its uselessness is its political statement. It's a declaration of independence for the artist's soul, especially in a world that's trying to own it. And look, this wasn't just some abstract idea for him. Wilde literally called himself an anarchist. He wrote essays like The Soul of Man Under Socialism, where he argued that the whole point of society should be to let individuals flourish, free from oppressive rules. He believed ethics weren't something to be forced on you from the outside, but something you discover for yourself. So this useless art he's talking about, it's anarchist art. It creates a little pocket of freedom for the individual to exist and to feel and to explore safely outside the judgment of the moral majority. Okay, so what does all of this mean for us right now when we go to pick up the Picture of Dorian Gray? Well, it means we have to be really aware of what we're reading, and maybe more importantly, what we're not reading. When you read that standard 1891 version, you're reading a story that has been tamed. It's a text that's been carefully designed to steer you away from the dangerous questions. It gets rid of all the ambiguity and just hands you a simple moral. Dorian was bad, so he got punished. It absolutely protects the author, but it does that by treating you, the reader, like someone who can't be trusted with the complicated truth. The original 1890 version, though, does the exact opposite. It trusts us. It puts the burden of figuring things out squarely on our shoulders. It doesn't give you any easy answers. It just shows you this beautiful, terrifying portrait of a secret soul and asks, "So, what do you see?" It dares to communicate the love that, at the time, was called the love that dare not speak its name. And it relies on the reader to have the guts to understand what it's saying. So the question we really have to ask ourselves when we open the cover is, which book am I reading? Am I reading the one that was born from an act of courage, or the one that was born from an act of fear? The original text was an act of incredible bravery. The revision, it's a brilliant, beautiful retreat. And they both came from the same mind, but they tell two totally different stories about what it costs to be an artist in a world that's hostile to you. And maybe that's the final question the novel leaves us with. When Oscar Wilde took a knife to his own work to make it more acceptable, to help it survive, he may have bought himself time. But what did it cost? If even a masterpiece has to hide its own heart just to be allowed to exist, how many other secret souls were silenced before they ever touched the page? What art was never written? What stories were too dangerous to tell? That's the real ghost story haunting the Picture of Dorian Gray, not the portrait, the censorship. If this changed the way you see the novel, let me know. Drop your thoughts in the comments, especially which version you prefer, the daring one or the defended one. If you enjoy these deep dives into the books we think we understand, hit the like button so more people can find it. Subscribe if you want more explainers like this. And tell me, what book should we uncover next?